I always believed that trust was the foundation of a strong marriage. That no matter what, my wife and I would always respect each other's feelings and boundaries. But I was wrong. It started with a simple invitation, a party hosted by my wife's ex-boyfriend, Jake. I didn't think much of it at first. People move on, relationships change, and the past stays in the past. At least, that's what I told myself. But when Lauren mentioned the invitation, something about the way she said it made my stomach turn. "Jake's throwing a party this weekend," she said over dinner, barely looking up from her phone. "It's just a casual thing. Some old friends will be there." "I think I'll go." I put my fork down. "Jake? Your ex?" She finally looked at me, her expression neutral. "Yeah, it's not a big deal. We ended on good terms, remember?" I forced a nod, though my gut told me otherwise. "I don't feel great about it," I admitted. "It just seems unnecessary. You haven't talked to him in years, right?" Lauren sighed, rolling her eyes like I was being ridiculous. "It's just a party, Ethan. Don't turn this into something it's not." I let the conversation drop, but the unease lingered. The night of the party, she got dressed up more than usual. A short, form-fitting dress that I hadn't seen in years, heels that made her legs look longer, and perfume she only wore on special occasions. "You look nice," I said, watching as she checked herself in the mirror for the third time. "Thanks," she said with a small smile. "I'll be back later. Don't wait up." And with that, she was gone. I sat on the couch, staring at my untouched glass of whiskey, trying to silence the thoughts running through my head. I didn't want to be the controlling husband. I didn't want to be paranoid. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Lauren came home late. Too late. I heard the door open around 3 o'clock in the morning. I was still awake, lying in bed, pretending to be asleep. She tiptoed inside as if trying not to wake me. The scent of alcohol, mixed with her expensive perfume, filled the room. She slipped into bed without a word. I stayed still, my heart pounding, my mind screaming. That was the moment everything changed. The next morning, I woke up before Lauren. She was curled up on her side, facing away from me, her breathing slow and steady. I stared at the ceiling, my mind replaying every detail of the night before. The way she left, how late she came home, the smell of alcohol mixed with that special perfume she only used on rare occasions. I wanted to believe nothing had happened, but doubt had already taken root. When she finally stirred, she let out a soft groan and rubbed her temples. "Ugh, I drank too much," she muttered. "Yeah, I noticed," I said flatly. She turned over and looked at me, her expression unreadable. "Are you mad?" "I don't know," I admitted. "You came home at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not exactly normal." She sat up, stretching her arms as if shaking off the conversation. "It was just a party, Ethan. I lost track of time. Everyone was catching up, and I didn't think it was a big deal." I studied her face, looking for any sign of guilt. "Did you talk to Jake a lot?" Lauren hesitated for a fraction of a second before answering. "Yeah, but not like that. He was just being friendly. We were all reminiscing about old times. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But that pause, that slight delay before answering, stuck with me. A shift in behavior. Over the next few days, I noticed a change in her. She was glued to her phone more than usual, smiling at messages she never shared with me. She started dressing differently, putting more effort into her appearance even when she wasn't going anywhere special. And then there was the biggest red flag of all. One night, as we were lying in bed, Her phone vibrated. She picked it up quickly, glancing at the screen before turning it over face down. "Who was that?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "Just Emily," she said without looking at me. "Emily?" "Her best friend, the one who never texts that late." I said nothing, but my gut told me everything, testing my suspicions. The next day, I decided to ignore my worries, to act as if I wasn't suspicious. If something was going on, I wanted to see how far she'd take it. So I gave her space. I didn't question her when she stayed out late with friends. I didn't ask who she was texting. I played the part of the trusting husband, and that's when things got worse. She started going out more often, twice in 1 week, then 3 times. The excuses were flimsy. Dinners with coworkers, last-minute girls' nights. She always had a reason, always brushed off my concerns. One night, I casually asked, "Are you seeing Jake again?" She froze for a second, then laughed. "You're being paranoid." But she didn't say no. That silence was louder than any confession. I decided right then I needed the truth, and I was going to get it. From that moment on, I stopped asking questions. If Lauren was lying to me, if she was keeping secrets, I wanted to see just how deep she would dig herself into this mess. So I played along. I pretended to be the same trusting husband I'd always been. When she said she was going out with friends, I smiled and told her to have fun. When she came home late, I acted like I hadn't noticed. When she spent more time on her phone, I never looked over her shoulder. And you know what? It worked. The more I ignored it, the bolder she became. Lauren started staying out even later. I'd hear her come in well past midnight, sometimes even close to dawn. And every time, she had the same casual excuse. I lost track of time, or it was just a long night. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Then came the whispers. I started noticing how some of our mutual friends acted differently around me. At first, I thought I was imagining it. The way people hesitated before speaking, the awkward glances when I entered a room. But then I overheard a conversation I was never meant to hear. Confirmation I didn't want. It happened at a coffee shop of all places. I had stopped by to grab a drink after work, and as I waited for my order, I heard 2 women chatting at a table nearby. "You know Lauren, right? She's been spending a lot of time with Jake lately." My stomach dropped. The other woman laughed. "Oh yeah, I heard about that. She swears nothing is happening, but come on. She was all over him at the party, and you know how these things go." I felt like the walls were closing in. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stay calm. They had no idea I was standing right there, just a few feet away, listening to every word. "Does her husband know?" the first woman asked. A pause, then, "If he does, he's pretending not to." I grabbed my coffee and walked out, my hands shaking. That was the moment I knew I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't imagining things. Lauren was cheating on me. The breaking point. That night, I sat in the living room waiting for her to come home. The hours crawled by, my mind racing through every possible scenario. Would I confront her? Would I demand answers? The door finally opened at 2:30 a.m. She walked in, hair slightly tousled, her makeup just a little too perfect for someone who claimed she was out with the girls. She froze when she saw me sitting there. "Hey," she said cautiously. "Hey," I replied, keeping my voice calm. She hesitated, then walked past me toward the bedroom. No explanation, no excuse. That told me everything. I let her think she had won, that I was blind, that I was weak. But in reality, I was done playing her game. And soon, she was going to realize that. I had always believed that when the moment of betrayal came, it would be explosive. That I'd be the guy in the movies who lost his mind, who screamed, who slammed his fists on the table and demanded the truth. But reality wasn't like that. When you realize your spouse has been lying to your face, gaslighting you while sneaking off to be with someone else, it doesn't hit you all at once like a car crash. No, it sinks into you slowly, like poison seeping through every part of your life until it corrupts everything. That's exactly how I felt as I sat across from Lauren the morning after she had snuck in at 3 a.m., pretending nothing was wrong. She hummed to herself as she sipped her coffee, scrolling through her phone like any other day, like she hadn't just spent hours at another man's apartment, like she wasn't lying straight to my face every single day. I watched her carefully, taking in every little detail. The way she angled her phone slightly away from me, the way she barely looked up as we talked, as if whatever was on her screen was far more important than I was. "Sleep well?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. She glanced up briefly, then smiled. "Yeah, just a little tired." "You?" I took a slow sip of my coffee. "Yeah, had a lot on my mind." That was the truth. I had spent the entire night staring at the ceiling, running through every scenario in my head, every possible way this could go, every way I could confront her and take back control of my life. But I wasn't ready for that yet, because I had a plan. Lauren had been playing me for weeks, maybe even months, but now I was going to play her. "Big plans today?" I asked, watching her reaction. She shrugged. "Just work, then maybe dinner with Emily." Emily, the friend who had unknowingly confirmed my suspicions? Last time, I simply nodded. "Sounds fun." She gave me a small smile before getting up and stretching. "I should get going." "Don't work too hard, okay?" And just like that, she was gone. The second I heard the door close, I pulled out my phone and checked the tracking app. I already knew what I'd find. A blinking blue dot moving in the opposite direction of her workplace, straight to him. Jake, her ex, her just a friend. My jaw tightened, but I forced myself to stay calm. I had spent enough time being the fool. Now it was my turn to play the game. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, outside the apartment complex. I wasn't sure why I was there. I wasn't going to storm in. I wasn't going to make a scene. That would be too easy, too predictable. Instead, I needed to think. I needed to figure out my next move. Lauren had no idea I knew. That was my biggest advantage. If I confronted her now, she'd deny it, twist the truth, make excuses, maybe even cry. And part of me worried that if I let my emotions get the best of me, I'd give her a chance to manipulate me again. So I did something that surprised even myself. I turned on my car, pulled out of the parking lot, and drove home. Not because I was letting her win, but because I was about to take everything away from her. I spent the next few days in complete silence, going about my routine as if nothing had changed. But behind the scenes, I was working carefully and methodically, setting the foundation for what was coming next. First, I met with a lawyer. I wasn't about to be the guy blindsided in divorce court, forced to give up half of everything I owned to a woman who had been betraying me for God knows how long. No, I was going to be prepared. I brought every piece of evidence I had. The tracking data, the photos, the receipts. The lawyer didn't even blink. "You've got a solid case," he said. "She won't see it coming." Good. That was exactly what I wanted. Next, I started making quiet moves in our finances. Lauren and I had a shared account, but I had my own savings as well. I made sure my money was safe, that no sudden withdrawals could be made without my approval. She wasn't going to take a single dime from me when this was over. And then I waited for the perfect moment to strike. That moment came sooner than I expected. Lauren thought she was clever. She thought she was being careful. But she had gotten sloppy. One night, as we sat on the couch watching TV, her phone buzzed. It was late, nearly midnight. She glanced at the screen, and I saw it. Jake. She quickly flipped her phone over, her movements stiff and unnatural. "Everything okay?" I asked, acting as if I hadn't seen it. She forced a smile. "Yeah, just Emily asking about brunch tomorrow." "Emily again?" "Always Emily." I nodded, pretending to believe her, but inside I was done playing along. I needed her to know I wasn't stupid. So I did something risky. The next night, when she said she was going to dinner with Emily, I didn't just check the tracker, I followed her. This time, I didn't park far away. I didn't sit and wait like a coward. I walked right up to the building and I rang the damn doorbell. Seconds later, the door swung open, and there he was. Jake, standing there, looking like a deer caught in headlights. Behind him, I could hear movement. Then Lauren appeared in the hallway, eyes wide with panic. Her hair was messy, her lipstick slightly smudged. I had never seen her look so guilty in my entire life. "Hey, babe," I said, my voice eerily calm. "Emily's place looks different than I remember." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Jake, to his credit, had the decency to step back, clearly uncomfortable. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to end this right here, right now. And the best part? She had no idea just how prepared I was. Lauren stood frozen in the hallway, her face pale as a sheet. I could see her brain scrambling for an excuse, some way to spin this to turn the situation in her favor. But this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't something she could smooth over with a weak apology and a few tears. I took a slow step forward, my eyes never leaving hers. "Go ahead," I said, my voice eerily calm. "Tell me what's going on here." Jake cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. "Look, man." I cut him off, my gaze never wavering from Lauren. I want to hear it from her. She swallowed hard, her hands trembling. "Ethan, I pulled out my phone and held it up, letting the glow of the screen illuminate my face. "Save it." "I already know." Her breath hitched as I swiped through the photos, the location locks, the dinner receipts. Every single breadcrumb she had left behind, leading straight to this moment. I watched her eyes dart to Jake, then back to me. She was calculating, still trying to find a way out. "Say something," I demanded, my patience wearing thin. Tears welled in her eyes, but I wasn't buying the performance. "It just happened," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound that made Jake flinch. "It just happened," I repeated. "Lauren, you've been lying to me for months. You planned this. You made a choice." She reached for me, but I stepped back. "Please, Ethan, I still love you. It's just, I got caught up in old feelings. I was confused." I shook my head. "Confused? You weren't confused when you snuck out at 3 a.m. You weren't confused when you lied to my face over and over again." She sobbed, but it was different now. Not regret, not sadness. Fear, because she knew what was coming. I turned to Jake, who still hadn't said a damn thing. "And you," I said coldly, "you're just pathetic." He opened his mouth, then closed it. Good. He had nothing to say. I exhaled slowly, my heart hammering in my chest. Lauren, I've already spoken to a lawyer. The divorce papers will be ready by the end of the week. You can pack your things and figure out where you're staying, but it won't be with me. She gasped, stepping forward again. Ethan, please don't do this. We can fix it. I shook my head. No, we can't. I turned, heading for the door. But just before I stepped out, I glanced back one last time. You made your choice, Lauren, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Now you get to live with it. Then without another word, I walked out, leaving her standing there in stunned silence. I didn't look back. Not this time, not ever again. I walked out of that apartment and didn't look back. Not once. Not as I stepped into my car, not as I drove home, the weight of everything pressing down on me. And definitely not as I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence of the house that Lauren and I once called home. But it wasn't our home anymore. Not after everything she had done. The next morning, I didn't waste any time. I called my lawyer and told him to move forward with the paperwork. I wasn't going to drag this out. I wanted her out of my life as quickly as possible. Lauren tried to call me over and over again. At first, I ignored her. But then, out of pure curiosity, I picked up. She was sobbing, begging. Ethan, please don't do this. We can talk. We can fix this. I sat there listening to her, feeling nothing. No anger, no sadness, no love. Just emptiness. Lauren, I said calmly, do you really think I'd ever take you back after this? She choked on a sob. I was stupid. I made a mistake, but I love you. I never wanted to lose you. I closed my eyes, letting her words sink in. But you did, I said, my voice steady. You lost me the moment you made your choice. She kept crying, but I didn't stay on the line to hear it. I ended the call and blocked her number. I wasn't going to be her safety net anymore. The next few weeks passed in a blur. Lauren moved out. She begged to stay, to work things out, but I refused. The house was mine, and I wasn't going to let her taint it any longer. I filed for divorce on grounds of infidelity, with all the evidence I had. She didn't stand a chance in court. No alimony, no settlement, just a clean break. Jake? He didn't last. I heard through the grapevine that he had dumped her after a few weeks. Turns out, he wasn't interested in a long-term relationship. Just the thrill of taking another man's wife. Poetic justice in a way. Lauren tried reaching out again. Through mutual friends, through emails, even showing up at my work once. But I was done. Completely done. It took time. But eventually, I moved on. Not just from her, but from the person I had been when I was with her. The trusting, naive man who believed in her lies. I learned to be smarter, stronger, and most importantly, I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't anger. It's walking away. Because nothing stings more